What's up, guys? Welcome back. Today we've got a really cool knife to share. Buddy Jason sent this in with some other stuff, which is great. Love it. This is a Sharp by Designs Void, and that's Brian Nadeau's company. And this is a production version. So this was made by Riot in China, but wow. Again, they knocked it out of the park and did a fantastic job. This is on par with custom knives. Like, it really, really is. The fit, the finish, it's just spectacular. So let's dive right into the specs real quick. 4 1/8 inch closed, 7 3/8 inches overall, 3.25 inch blade with a 3.2 inch cutting edge. It is a kind of thick, not super thick, but a M390 at 0.158 thickness. Weighs in at just 3.6 ounces with an overall thickness of 0.539 minus the clip. It does fire amazingly. And you can flick it, you can flip it with these very small flipper tab, and you can finger flick it with your middle finger, spidey flick, whatever you want to call that. It's a little tough around the camera because the way my arm is positioned, but it fires 100% of the time. Because this is so cool, let's zoom in. It has a really nice blade grind and blade shape. Really nice flat grind all the way down to, nothing. It's just nice. Titanium scales. This, I believe, is kind of a micarta inlay, but you can barely, you really cannot feel the transition between the titanium and the scale or the inlay. Like, you legit can't. It's amazing how smooth that is. Got a 3D milled pocket clip. This is technically a frame lock, but the inlay kind of goes over the frame. So it's quasi bolster lock. And you can see just a very small logo on the top there. Non-proprietary hardware. It just looks like that on this side, but it is, I think, a T8 on the back side. Lock bar insert screw, and you could just look at the milling for that. It's just all with a purpose. And very nice lock bar insert. And what's a little unusual or different about this is it's not a detemp ball. It's a little ramp or a nub, if you can see in there. So it actually makes the opening and closing feel slightly different than a knife with a detemp ball. If you're new to knives, you may not feel it, but if you've handled a lot of knives, you'll slightly feel a difference. It's completely smooth. What's nice about this inlay being here and the quasi bolster lock style is you're never going to worry about putting pressure on the lock bar when you flip it open, because your finger is going to rest on that inlay. So no matter how hard I'm squeezing together, it's still going to fly open. Whereas on a traditional frame lock like this, if I put too much pressure on the lock bar, like I'm going to do now, it's not going to open. So you need to kind of have your finger off of the lock bar so that it will fire, which normally isn't an issue. You pick up a knife and maybe the first time you give it too much pressure, but then you kind of feel where to put your finger. But with this one, you don't have to worry about that because your finger's always going to fall onto the inlay. you would be in a really weird position to have your finger on the lock bar to give it a problem. So it's a little thing. But I love absolutely everything about this, except it's just a little too small for my hand. I mean, it fits. It just feels a little handle small. And surprisingly, the blade to handle, I mean, it's a lot of blade for a little handle. It's kind of surprising when I look at it. The blade looks almost bigger than the handle, if you will. I mean, it fits in the handle perfectly, obviously, but it just feels like the blade is just a hair bigger than the handle when you hold it. Now, Brian did a Void XL or an XL Void on his custom side, whereas this is a 3¼ inch blade. The custom Void is 3.75, which then has a bigger handle, which would probably fit my hand much better, because it's just, in finger flicking it, it's a little awkward just because I wish the handle was just slightly bigger. But all in all, this knife is great. Now, one little thing is the clip. It works great in the pocket, but the finishing on it doesn't really match the handle. It's just a little odd to me. It matches the blade, I guess, in that kind of brushed type finish. So it works, but with everything else kind of here, kind of more muted and, a bead blast type of finish, I would have preferred that on the clip. That's just me. That's a very personal preference. Other than that, and the fact that you really can't get these because they're sold out everywhere, and they're not a limited run, but they only made so many in this run. So I'm hoping they'll do more. But you can get them all titanium. You get them with a carbon fiber inlay. There's several different inlays and kind of different configurations. I think they have an all PVD blacked out version. So there's a lot of options if you can find them. But the problem is you just can't. But the jimping feels great. The blade is solid. It's relatively sharp, but Jason uses this. And M390 is awesome, so this would sharpen right back up and be freaking razor sharp. So all in all, this is a fantastic knife, and it was like $350 when they were available, if you could find them. So they're going to be more than that probably on the secondary market. And if this fit my hand better, I might look for one because I like it that much. But I may look into one of the XL Customs, but you're talking 1,000 plus. So I would have to handle one first to see. But let's do some size comparisons because I got to show you what this looks like. So here's the Sharpie, okay? But here is the Spyderco Delica. It's basically the same size as a Delica. The handle is basically exactly the same size. The Delica handle is maybe a hair bigger, but it's roughly the same size as the Delica, but you're getting a lot more blade than the Delica. If I put the pivot to pivot, you're getting a lot more blade with basically the same, very similar handle size. So it's a small knife, and the Delica is too small for me. I don't relatively ever carry it. The Curtis Cruise that I pulled out before, little shorter than that. The Curtis Cruise fits my hand better, although I wish the handle was not quite cylindrical. This one has a swell to it, so it fits much better in my hand, even though it's kind of small. Like this, it has a little curve, but it just doesn't fit my hand very well. What else do we got here on the table? The FIF 23, which I know is much bigger, but just to give you a size comparison, this is a 4-inch blade, 3¼ inch blade. But all in all, I would recommend checking out Here's another Chinese-made knife. This is made by Civivi, which is a company of WE, which is a competitor, I guess, of Riot. But Riot and WE are really your kind of top two Chinese production companies. A lot of US makers work with them to make their production models to bring higher availability at lower costs to the masses. And Riot and WE do a fantastic job with fit and finish. Their quality control is great. Their manufacturing process is amazing, as you saw with this, in the close-ups of this one. Just all around, great. Shard by Design and Brian Nadeau really do some great stuff. I would definitely keep an eye on them. I will put a link to their website down below in the description. So thanks a lot, Jason, for letting me check this one out. I absolutely think it's an awesome piece. I wished it was a 3.5-inch blade, because then it would probably fit my hand perfectly and you might not get it back. But you'll get this one back because it is just a hair small for me and my rather, large hands. I think I do wear a medium large glove. Sometimes, depending on the glove, it's a large, extra large. So I'm really in that large size hand, as far as, kind of the width across here. So anyway, there you have it. Shard by Design. Go check them out and have yourselves a great day. We'll see you on the next one. Thanks, guys.